Hi there, folks. I'm just so pleased to see that what we've been waiting for a long time is starting to happen now, and it's about time anyway. I came across this video of what's going on in America at the moment, and it's about time that this has happened. I just want to share this with you guys. Take a look at this.
Guys, I'm Pastor Tim Thompson from 412 Church down in Southern California. I want to talk to the people that are here today that are Bible-believing Christians. I'm not going to spend any time talking to all of you about why it is we need to assemble together. I think you already know that that's what we should be doing, and we have a governor that's telling us that we can't. So here's what I want to tell you guys. I've got a lot of people, and I want to share this with you because I want you to know how to respond to this. I have a lot of people that come to me and say, Pastor Tim, you shouldn't be telling people to go act in civil disobedience. You should tell them to just comply with whatever the government tells them to do. And what I say to that is nonsense. I have people call me and they say, yeah, well, Pastor Tim, you should read the Bible that you preach from, the Bible that says in Romans 13 that Christians are supposed to submit to the government. They have no idea what Romans 13 is about when they use it in that sense. I'll tell you this, it says to submit to the governing authorities, right? Who was the governing authority of that time? Caesar was the governing authority of that time. He was the king, he was the supreme leader in that time. Anybody who reads that has to bridge what we call gaps. There's gaps between the time it was written and now, and the culture it was written and now, and the form of government that it was in there and now. Where do we live? America. What kind of government is this? It's a republic. It's a democratic republic. And in a democratic republic, who is the king? We are. It's that simple. They have to understand this. We don't have to submit to a government that tells us to break the law of God. When they tell us to break the law of God, we have a right. Not only do we have a right, but we have a responsibility as Christians to say no way. Here's the fact. As you read through the Bible from the beginning to the very end, what you see are strong men and women all throughout the scriptures who have stood against the government when the government says to break the law of God. Take a look at Daniel. They told Daniel, you're not allowed to pray. You're not allowed to petition any god for 30 days. Only you can petition the king. And anybody who does that, there's going to be a consequence. We're living in times where they're telling us the same type of thing. You're not allowed to gather together. You're not allowed to worship God in the way that God tells you to, or there's going to be a consequence. What did Daniel do?
He did it anyway.
Daniel went back to his house and he opened up the windows for everyone to see him, and he bowed on his face towards Jerusalem, and he prayed to God 3 times that day, as was his custom since he was a little boy. He said, I don't care what the consequences are. I don't care if you throw me in the den of lions. God will save me through that den. And what did God do? God saved Daniel. If then some people will say this, well, that's the Old Testament, Pastor Tim. You gotta understand, we're living in the New Testament. Okay, well, let me get you to Peter. Peter did what? Peter said, listen, I'm going to preach in the name of Jesus. And so, here's what happened. The leaders of that time, the ruling authorities, gathered together and said, Peter, listen, you can keep doing what you're doing, just don't do it in the name of Jesus. And so what did Peter do? Did he say, oh, well, okay, I guess the ruling authority said I can't do it in the name of Jesus? Absolutely not. He said, who do you think I'm going to fear? Do you think I'm going to fear you or fear God? I think I'll fear God. And I'll tell you this. Here's the problem right now. God has called you as Christians to be 2 things while you walk on this earth. 2 things. Salt and light. For so long, the church has thought that salt means it's flavorful, that it develops a thirst in people. Salt stings. Salt preserves. You and I as Christians are supposed to be a preservative in our nation, in our community. We're supposed to sting a little bit. We're supposed to be light. So many people say, oh, well, light's attractive. Yeah, it's attractive, but light reveals the wickedness that's in the darkness. And I'll tell you, Christians need to stand up and reveal the wickedness that's taking place in that building right there. We need to shed some light on that garbage. For far too long, we've sat down as Christians and we've just let them roll right over us. For some reason, there's this attitude that Christians need to just be humble, quiet little people. Yeah, we need to be humble, but there's a time we need to be bold. And I'll tell you, right now is a time that we need to be bold. Right now is a time, and I'll say it again, it is a time for civil disobedience. When they tell the church that the church can't assemble together, even though God said in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24, 25, he said, do not neglect the assembling of yourselves together, as is the manner of some. But what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to get together. We're supposed to spur one another on towards love and good deeds. We're supposed to assemble together, regardless of what the government says. And so one thing we have to understand is the government, they have no right to tell the church what to do at all. When I was a little boy, I heard in my grade school classes this thing called separation of church and state. First of all, they have to understand separation of church and state is not even in our Constitution. It was something that Thomas Jefferson wrote to a seminary. It's not even an actual law. Here's another thing we have to understand, that the whole purpose behind separation of church and state is so that way people who live and work in that building right there can't tell the church what to do. It's that simple. It's not their job to tell the church what to do. It's God's. Plain and simple. And so here's my encouragement to you guys today. And I think I'm preaching to the choir right now. Stand up. Get loud. Get strong. Don't back down. Don't roll over. Don't let them in there tell you what to do. It's that simple. And I'm going to just ask you, please, get with your pastor. Tell your pastor to man up. Tell your pastor to open his church. Open it up. It's not his church anyways. It's God's church. Open the doors. Let people worship God. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Yep. That's it. I think I'm not suggesting that we do anything ridiculous, but what's great to see here is that it's starting in America, and if it's starting there, believe me, it's going to spill over here too. This thing has gone just too far already. It's getting out of hand completely, and so I'm just very pleased to see that these guys are. America started with this thing. If that's in one state in America now, I can guarantee you there's going to be many more of these protests happening, and very, very soon this whole thing is going to be over and done with, like it should be. Anyway, take courage, boys and girls. We're getting out of this nonsense at last.